want to acknowledge not only the presence but the efforts of Councilwoman Tabitha Taylor in connection with this controversy. I appreciate Councilman Gary Brooks being here. The city attorney is here. The chief administrative officer is here. Bonnie Moore is here from community development. Gary Norman from Public Works. Chief Smith, Chief Reese, and Terrence Green, the director of property standards. Over the last weeks, we have been faced with very serious issues dealing with truly what I believe to be gross mismanagement of some apartment complexes in the city of Shreveport. Those have now progressed to a stage where they are a threat to public health and safety, and they required some additional action by the city, which I am taking today. I have today signed a declaration of emergency to declare that with respect to the Jolie, Villa Norte, and the Pines, that there is a public health and safety emergency that exists that requires some additional things to be done, some powers to be exercised, particularly by the police department. As you probably know, the water and electricity has been cut off to all of these units, which means that they are no longer healthy or sanitary for human occupancy, and yet there are people who are there. We are moving the people who we believe are legitimate tenants. Ms. Moore has done an outstanding job of dealing with those people to try and find them an alternate place to live. But regardless, where they are living now is not safe and it is not sanitary. Therefore, I have entered into this emergency declaration to give the police department, particularly, the ability to go on the premises and to remove unlawful occupants from the premises and to help to cut down on crime and the unsanitary conditions that are there. I think I've given each of you a copy of the emergency declaration, which I believe is now being recorded in Caddo Parish, so that it will be effective at 2 o'clock. It extends it through July 3rd. The reason for that is that my authority is 30 days. I can extend it, but my initial authority is 30 days, and so we have taken the whole 30 days. I think that the city has done everything it could do, and actually has done some things beyond what it could do to assist in this circumstance, to try and make the best out of a really bad situation for the tenants who found themselves in these apartment complexes. And it is time for us to take some further action so that we let people know that this kind of behavior by landlords in particular, or the inactivity of landlords, is simply not tolerated in the city of Shreveport. So that's the speech, and I'm glad to answer any questions that you have. Adam?
Mayor, can you describe which conditions at these apartment complexes are responsible for the emergency safety declaration? It's not that they owe the city money.
No. It happens that they also owe the city a great deal of money. That has nothing to do with the emergency declaration. The emergency declaration has to do with the fact that they are not being supervised. There are people who are there who are not authorized to be there. There are squatters who are there. There are crimes that are being committed on the premises. And so it is unsafe to be on the premises, and we are concerned about fire. We are concerned about sanitary conditions. We are concerned about crime and the possibility of violent crime. We've already seen some of that, particularly at the Jolie. And so it's very important that we take action to protect our citizens. It also is important that we not let this virus grow to places outside of these premises. For example, at Jolie, there's a residential neighborhood just across the levee. There are residences around Villa Norte and around the Pines. Those people deserve to know that the city is protecting their interest in health and safety.
Did these conditions exist before the utilities were shut off? Have they become exacerbated in the weeks since?
I think they became exacerbated when it was clear that the management was not going to do anything, and it was exacerbated by the fact that we finally did have to cut off the water, which added an additional condition. And so as a result of those things, and we also had tenants. One of the reasons that we didn't take this action earlier is that we had tenants that we were trying to help relocate, and we have been able to do most of that. I think there's still a few people that are there. We are encouraging them to move because where they're living currently is not either healthy or safe.
With the declaration of emergency, is it illegal for the squatters or illegal persons to be on these three properties at this time?
We believe that it is. We believe it's been true for squatters. You gotta separate. We're not sure who all the occupants are. What I consider to be a squatter is a person who had never had a lease, who had never had any right to occupy an apartment, who simply moved in to the apartment. To me, that's a squatter, as opposed to somebody who may have at one time paid rent and simply become a delinquent tenant. But we think that most of the people that are occupying this property now happen to fall into the squatter category.
Mr. Mayor, technically it's not illegal to be a squatter in Louisiana, but if you're served an eviction notice or a written notice, then it becomes illegal. Is this state of emergency technically a written notice to remind them they are no longer?
We believe it is. I'm not sure I agree with your legal interpretation, but assuming that that's true, I think that's correct. Yes, ma'am.
How are you ensuring the safety of the well-being of the residents that are affected by this?
Well, what we hope is that the police will be on premises. They will be able to observe things that may be probable cause for arrest as they observe criminal activity or what they believe is criminal activity, and we will be making arrests when we see that.
And what specific steps is the SPD going to help to ensure that?
They'll be patrolling and they'll be visiting these premises. We are not physically. There is no expeditionary force that is coming in to occupy these premises. These are private premises. We don't have the right to do that. But this does give, I think, the police the ability to go on the premises to make sure that they're healthy and sanitary. In this case, we know that they are not. And so if there are people there, particularly people who have no legal right to be there, then that is what we're trying to prevent.
Are you going to evict people who do have a legal right to be there, who are paying rent?
We don't have the right to evict them, no.
So people can continue to live on those properties, but this is going to be if there are other circumstances which can be identified by police.
Correct. We don't have the right. We have the right to arrest people for trespass. We have the right to arrest people for drug activity. We have the right to arrest people for prostitution. We have the right to arrest people for other kinds of illegal activity. We do not have the right to evict people who are tenants, and probably don't have the right to evict people who are delinquent tenants.
Am I wrong about trespassing requiring the owner of the property to ask for that? Isn't that part of what we were talking about with downtown issues?
We believe that this emergency declaration gives us the right to go on the premises and investigate that.
Within the next 30 days, Mr. Mayor, what do you guys hope to accomplish with these three apartment complexes?
What we hope is to reduce or eliminate the potential criminal activity that's going on. We hope that this will make those places safer and not as subject to fires. We've had 2 fires at Jolie, and so it's very important that we obtain as much information and that we make these properties as safe as we possibly can in light of the lack of any management oversight at these properties.
Any word on demolition?
Demolition would have to occur through the property standards process, so this emergency declaration will not accelerate any kind of demolition.
So there won't be any extra law enforcement on property?
No, we're not taking the place or the responsibility of the landlord to secure the landlord's property and to give their tenants a safe place to live.
Speaking of the landlord, any update from their attorneys or them themselves?
No.
At the end of the declaration, it says that it will end on July 3rd, unless all the buildings have been totally demolished. Are any of these 3 properties due to be totally demolished?
No. No, I believe that I have signed demolition orders on parts of Villa Norte. I don't think I've signed any on Jolie yet, and I'm not sure about. Frankly, as I stand here, I'm not sure about the Pines.
Mayor, are there any other complexes in the city that are up for this treatment in the coming weeks, months?
Well, I hope not. This is a very drastic action that's called for by a drastic circumstance, and we hope that this sends a message to landlords elsewhere that they need to pay attention to their business. These apartment complexes are their business, and we are where we are, in my opinion, because landlords have failed to take care of their own business.
Other complexes owe the city money. Are we turning off their water soon?
There are others. We're working on collection efforts as to those apartments, and to the extent that they owe us the kinds of funds that are owed, then yes, they stand likely to have their water cut off. We will not do that without giving some opportunity for tenants to relocate. Other questions?
At this time, are you considering extending the 30 days after the initial 30 days?
Well, I really can't tell you that I can do that. I have only 30 days of authority, so I will reevaluate that on or before July 3rd and make a decision whether it needs to be extended, but I'm certainly willing to extend it if the circumstances warrant that. Yes, ma'am.
Has any businesses reached out to you basically from squatters affecting their business that are nearby these apartment complexes?
You know, I don't know. I think actually council members have gotten more of those calls than I have, so that might be an appropriate question for Ms. Taylor.
Yes, we have. We have, and I agree with everything that the mayor is issuing right now with this emergency declaration, because public safety is the #1 priority. So we want to make sure that we do everything within our powers to ensure safety of all residents and commercial businesses.
Do you expect the property owners to challenge any of this legally?
Let me say that I would be surprised, but I would welcome the opportunity to have them actually appear somewhere and raise these issues.
Amen. I concur.
Any other questions? Great. Well, thank you all for being here. And if should you have follow-up questions, if you'll get in touch with Ms. Ivinsky, I'll be glad to try and answer those. Thank you very much.